A woman can love you with all her heart, but the moment she stops respecting you, it's over. Not immediately, not with a loud breakup or a final text. It dies slowly, quietly, behind smiles, beneath small compromises. And most men don't even notice until it's too late. They think being loyal is enough. They think being nice is the answer. But love without respect is pity in disguise. And no man survives that for long. Respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you live. It's not earned by talking louder, giving more, or begging to be seen. It's in the way you walk into a room. The way you say no without flinching. The way you hold your line even when your hands are shaking. You don't lose respect in one dramatic moment. You lose it by tolerating what you once swore you'd never accept. And here's the truth most men never hear: women don't admire your words. They admire your standards. And the moment your standards begin to fade, so does the admiration in her eyes. So, if you've ever felt like something's missing, like you've given everything and still feel invisible, this is your wake-up call. It's time to stop asking for respect and start becoming it. And that begins with 5 boundaries, 5 sacred lines that every man must hold, not to control anyone else, but to protect the only thing that truly matters. Number 1, never reward disrespect. She won't always scream at you. She won't always insult you to your face. Disrespect often comes wearing perfume and a smile in the form of a joke at your expense, an eye roll when you speak, a cold silence when you express your boundaries. And most men, they excuse it. They laugh it off. They stay quiet because they're afraid of causing tension. But every time you stay quiet when you should have spoken, you lose more than your voice. You lose your edge. Disrespect rarely enters like a storm. It shows up like a breeze. Light enough to ignore, but strong enough to shift the ground beneath you. A snide comment here. A subtle comparison to another man there. And when you let it slide, when you pretend not to notice, you don't look like the bigger person, you look like a man who can be molded. A man whose boundaries are negotiable. And the moment she senses that, the dynamic changes. You're no longer the man she feared losing. You become the one she tastes again and again until there's nothing left of the man she once admired. A woman doesn't lose respect for you because you fail. She loses respect when you tolerate being diminished. When you make excuses for behavior that chips away at your dignity, when you let someone touch your core and walk away without consequence. That's why most men don't lose their woman when they stop loving her. They lose her when they stop commanding respect. And it never happens in a dramatic collapse. It happens drip by drip. In the little shrugs, in the swallowed pride, in the quiet acceptance of what once would have made your blood boil. You want to know what a real man does? He doesn't shout. He doesn't beg. He doesn't try to explain why he deserves better. He speaks once calmly, clearly. Don't speak to me like that again. And if it happens again, he leaves. Not in anger, not in rage, but in full command of his soul. Because one tolerated insult invites 100 more, and a man who trades his dignity for peace gets neither. Marcus Aurelius once said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. So if she disrespects you and you stay, you're not just allowing it, you're validating it. Let your silence be your stance. Let your calm be your boundary. And let your exit be your message. Because in the end, a woman may love many men in her life, but she will only respect the one who never rewards disrespect, not even once. Number 2, guard your peace like a fortress. Guard your peace. There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes peace isn't just something nice to have. It's survival. It's the foundation of clarity, purpose, strength. Without peace, you don't think clearly. You don't lead with conviction. You react, you scramble. You drown. And in today's world, peace isn't stolen from you. It's leaked. One distraction, one argument, one guilt-ridden yes at a time. Most men give away their peace without even noticing. They respond to every text, engage every insult, try to fix every emotional storm that isn't theirs to fix, especially when it comes from women they care about. But here's what they don't tell you. The more chaos you absorb, the less of a man you become. You're not being helpful. You're being hollowed out piece by piece until all that's left is exhaustion wearing a polite smile. And women, they feel it. They feel when your mind is scattered. They feel when you've been stretched too thin. When your boundaries are soft, when you're performing instead of standing. And when they feel it, they test it. Not always consciously, but it happens. The silence, the drama, the withdrawal. Not because she wants to destroy you, but because she needs to know where your center is. She needs to feel your root. If you flinch, if you chase, if you explain yourself to win back temporary calm, she sees it and she begins to step into the role you abandoned, the leader. But a woman never truly respects a man she has to lead. She might stay. She might even love you, but the reverence is gone. And without reverence, love becomes routine. And then resentment. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of mastery. You guard it like a fortress. You choose your battles. You say no without guilt. You let unread messages stay unread. Not out of disrespect, but out of design. You filter what enters your mind like a gatekeeper. Because not everything deserves your energy. Not every conversation deserves a reply. You clean your home not for others, but because order outside creates stillness inside. You train your body not for compliments but because physical structure feeds mental clarity. You walk alone sometimes, not because you're lonely but because the silence heals you in ways noise never could. When you build this kind of peace, something magical happens. You become magnetic. People feel your energy without you saying a word. Women sense the calm and lean into it. The worthy are drawn in. The chaotic ones retreat. And that's the point, because in a world screaming for your attention, the man who builds peace becomes the one thing no one can ignore, unshakable. Number 3. Don't overshare or emotionally dump too much. There's a part of you she should never fully see. Not because you're hiding, but because mystery keeps desire alive. In today's world of oversharing, where every emotion becomes a story and every wound a post, most men have forgotten the value of restraint. They've mistaken emotional dumping for connection. They believe that if they reveal everything, they'll be loved more. But often the opposite happens. You've seen it. Maybe you've lived it. You meet someone. She asks how your last relationship ended. And you tell her everything. The betrayal, the hurt, the guilt, the nights you couldn't sleep. You think you're being honest, vulnerable, real. But what she sees isn't strength. It's weight. And instead of leaning into you, she starts backing away quietly, slowly, because now you're not the man she wants to lean on. You've become the man she feels she needs to carry. Here's the truth. Women don't want a man with no emotions. But they do want a man who contains them, who holds his depth like an ocean, powerful, vast but not chaotic. They want to feel. There's more beneath the surface, not be thrown into the deep end on day one. The Stoics taught this well. Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." The same goes for your emotions. If every thought, every fear, every memory spills out, you're not connecting. You're scattering. And eventually, it overwhelms her. Not because she's weak, but because she's not meant to be your therapist. You don't need to be a closed book, but you should be a book with a lock. And a woman should earn each chapter. Let her wonder what shaped you. Let her feel the weight you carry without handing it to her. Speak less but speak with meaning. Share slowly, intentionally like a sunrise. Quiet but impossible to ignore. When she asks, don't avoid, but don't overexpose. Answer in fragments. Offer hints. Let curiosity build. Because the truth is, doesn't fall in love with a perfectly explained man. She falls for the mystery she can't quite solve. The presence that holds without grabbing, the silence that speaks louder than words. And most of all, remember this: the more you seek comfort through confession, the more you dilute your power. Let her lean into your calm, not collapse under your chaos. The most respected men aren't the loudest about their pain. They're the ones who carry it with grace. So speak less, hold more, and let her discover you. Not all at once, but layer by layer. Like a rare treasure revealed only to those worthy enough to stay. Number 4. No emotional reactivity destroys leadership. Emotional reactivity. You don't become powerful by feeling less. You become powerful by being moved only by what truly matters. Emotional mastery isn't about shutting down. It's about standing still when the world tries to shake you, because in every man's life, there comes a moment when she's testing. Not your strength, but your center. She pulls away without warning. She says something cold. She compares you to someone else. Maybe she flirts with uncertainty just enough to see how you respond. And if you react, if you raise your voice, if you chase, if you beg for clarity, she sees it not as passion, not as love, but as weakness, a man who's lost control of his internal world. Reaction is the weapon of the undisciplined. It's the signal that your emotions are still in charge, not your values. And nothing kills respect faster than a man who dances to every gust of her moods, who rises and falls based on her tone, her texts, her silences. You must understand emotional control is not a performance. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about feeling everything but choosing what deserves your movement. The Stoics called this temperantia, the discipline to stay unmoved by what does not serve the soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. When you master that space, the sacred pause between impulse and action, you become untouchable. She can roll her eyes. She can withdraw. She can test. And still you remain calm. Not out of indifference, but because your peace isn't negotiable. Your value isn't reactive. You respond if and only if it serves your path. Let others scramble. Tobe understood. Let them chase approval and closure. You observe. You wait. You allow silence to expose truth, because often when you say nothing, you say everything. And the woman who once tested you, she begins to soften. Not because you punished her, but because she finally sees the man who cannot be shaken. And in a world full of men who crumble, you become unforgettable. The race nothing more magnetic than a man who doesn't flinch when things get uncomfortable. No panic. No explanations, just presence. She raises her voice. You lower yours. She storms out. You sit still. Not to prove a point, but because your center isn't for rent. And if she leaves, you don't chase. Because a woman who needs chaos to feel alive is not compatible with the man who's mastered stillness. Control your emotions or they will control you. Choose response over reaction. Choose principle over panic. Choose stillness over storms. And in that choice, you rise. Number 5, always be willing to walk away. Power, the mark of a self-made man. Walk away. There's a kind of man women never test twice, never beg for respect from, never forget. The man who's willing to walk away, not in anger, noting manipulation, but in quiet, complete certainty. Because he knows one thing most men never dare to learn. Nothing and no one is worth losing yourself over. Too many men stay when they should leave. They stay in relationships that drain them, in conversations that belittle them, in dynamics that break their soul one compromise at a time. They don't stay because it's right. They stay because they're scared. Scared of starting over, scared of being alone, scared of not being needed. So, they shrink. They explain. They beg. And with each step back, they become less. But the man who's willing to walk away, he's free. Free, not because he needs nothing, but because he refuses to need anyone more than he needs his peace, his values, his mission. And when a woman feels that, when she senses that you love her, but you're not addicted to her, that you cherish her, but you will never betray yourself for her, everything shifts. You become the man she respects, not because you demand it, but because your presence carries the weight of a man who won't settle for less than truth. This doesn't mean you threaten. It doesn't mean you leave at first sign of conflict. It means your standards are real, your lines are drawn, and you'd rather walk into the unknown with dignity than stay in the familiar with shame. The Stoics would call this internal sovereignty, to belong fully to yourself, to make choices based on principle, not fear. Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When a relationship demands that you surrender your core to keep it alive, it's not love. It's a deal with your own destruction. And here's the paradox. The man who's willing to walk away rarely has to, because his willingness creates the gravity that makes others rise. She feels it. She adjusts or she leaves. And either way you win. Because the goal is not to keep everyone. It's to keep yourself. Every time you choose to stay in what shrinks you, you teach yourself that comfort matters more than truth. But when you walk, even with tears in your eyes, even with love in your heart, you reclaim something sacred, your soul. So walk if you must, walk even when it hurts. Walk without apology. Because the man who can leave is the man no one wants to lose, and that kind of man becomes legend. Conclusion, you don't demand respect, you embody it and earn respect by being louder, honester, or more available. You earn it in insolence, in boundaries, in the invisible decisions you make when no one's watching. It's not about control. It's about self-respect. And the men who live with that, who embody it, breathe it, bleed it, they don't have to demand anything. The world adjusts to them. Maybe you've spent years asking for validation. Maybe you've begged to be seen. Maybe you've lost parts of yourself trying to be understanding, supportive, easy to love. But deep down you know what it cost you. So today, the game changes. Today, you remember what you were born with. A soul that doesn't kneel for approval. A presence that doesn't chase. A manhood that doesn't flinch. Draw the line not to push her away, but to call yourself back home. Guard your peace, not to hide from love but to protect your clarity. Share less so your words regain their weight. Respond calmly so your silence becomes strength. And above all, walk away when your soul is at stake. Because in the end, the world doesn't respect the man who gives everything. It respects the one who knows what not to give. So, if this message hits you somewhere deep, somewhere real, drop a comment below. I choose self-respect. And share this with the man who forgot who he was until